Here we go. It's coming. Hello, everyone. Hi. Glad to have you here. And of course, we're going to hear everything come back to us in a second. Let's see what happens. Are you coming back through the
I'm not. I'm watching. I'm wait. Oh, here it comes. Oh,
Okay.
I muted it before it could.
It's coming. See, I've got two things. No.
You got yours.
See, I got mine. And then here comes. Look at It's coming. I got two of them at the same time. It's crazy. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of your creative journey. My name is Kevin Gregg.
I through 60 episodes and still Paul Carganilla. I made it.
Welcome to the show that has been, that is the place for you. If you are an actor, writer, director, producer, singer, musician, what else could they be, Paul?
An online dating ghost writer,
I knew you had stuff.
fake wedding guest, a paper towel sniffer.
Oh, what are you talking about? Please describe that one. What does a paper towel sniffer do?
There are new heroes out there that will ensure that paper towel manufacturers produce high quality products without a putrid smell. The paper towel sniffer. Not all heroes wear capes, but if you enjoy sniffing pieces of paper, you could earn $52,000 a year for the privilege.
Oh my gosh. Now here's the interesting thing, not to go off on a tangent with it because we're right at the top of the show. Who cares? It's the last one. But isn't it funny that it's that big of an issue in the paper towel industry that there are putrid smelling paper towels, that they've got to hire somebody to go, hey man, we need to figure this out. Yeah. We need to get on that.
That's something I never would have thought.
No matter what it is you do, even if you were smelling putrid paper towels, this is the show for you. We're here for the last episode, man.
Don't make me cry, Kevin. Don't make me cry.
Listen, I'll probably be the one that's crying at this. I'm sort of the guy that's had the track record for crying on the show. We want to give a big shout out to all of the people that have come to visit us for this last show. Let's say hi to Kelsey, Angelica, Dari, Diana, Christina. Diana, did I get you already? My gosh, look at these guys. So glad to have you here. Further down,
Charity.
Oh,
you've seen.
You guys are amazing. Look at this. So glad to have you here with us on our final episode. Holy smokes, buddy. Yeah, we started this out. Let's get for the well, I figured as much. Paul will be putting on glasses and taking off glasses for those of you that are listening to the audio podcast. It's a thing that happened. You know, we started out I'm going to say that we started recording in about May of 2020. I think we started recording in May of 2020. Our first episode launched in like June of 2020. But the idea was Paul came to me, and I was thinking about today because Kate was asking me, how did this start? How did Paul approach you? I think, and Paul, correct me where I'm wrong on this. Once the pandemic had started, first of all, you were already starting to do some stuff, and you kind of got the wheels going with the Polly's online picnic, because you guys weren't able to do stuff in person. Mm-hmm. And boy, Paul, I'm just gonna again, I will say this, man. So proud of you. What a model that you were, because for those of you watching and listening, I would get to see Paul behind the scenes as he was working this out and trying to figure this thing out on the fly. Like, I mean, like how nervous it was, like kind of going, do we have all the, especially as you were putting together those picnics with everybody singing or playing music, and you were coordinating with Sam or Craig or any of those guys, like going, how does all this work? How does all this come together? The fact that you were able to pull those guys together and just start launching this for people that you knew in your community, to be able to start just enjoying something during that crazy time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't take all the credit for it, of course. Just so many friends. I just put a blast out there. Like, who would be up for trying live music, live improv comedy over Zoom if we broadcasted it on Facebook. And, everybody who was sitting around on their hands between spraying them with Clorox uh, when we were all newly just locked up in our houses,
Yeah.
everybody said, "Yeah, yes, absolutely."
Yeah.
And so that was a huge part of it. I never feel comfortable taking any credit for what has happened with the online variety show and Vaudacity.
Mark of an awesome leader, by the way, folks. I'm just going to say that. Paul, I'm going to give you credit on this too. It's exactly what you should do as a leader, is to go, hey man, it's not just about me, it's about the other people that are involved. So just pointing that out for other people. See what Paul just did right there?
But it's
Please,
like,
no, he's not doing this on purpose. But I'm saying, if you want a role model of what to do that in your life. Okay. Don't be the person that says, well, yeah, it was all me and it was all this stuff. Honestly, Paul, that's all. I just wanted to point that out. If we can use educational moments during this episode.
teachable moments. But yeah, I mean, it's if it weren't for the entire group that came together and built the ship to sail in, it would just be me on a canoe going, "Hey guys,
Yeah.
hey." But what it was, it became a family because it's been a big, huge team effort. It's been a family effort, and
Yeah.
um, there's that aspect of it, and there's also a huge um, when I came to you and I was like, I want to do a podcast where I talk to you about being creative and what it's like and what goes on, what battles go on inside of our heads and in our hearts, and just kind of explore all that stuff. You you really hit in your last episode with Lucy, um, exactly I think what it was when you asked her about, did you ever go through any dark times when you couldn't, you just like find a way to get creative, and she talked about just the worst darkest year of her life. And
Yeah.
if you haven't heard the episode, go back and listen to it. And she took some time and healed from the inside, but then as soon as she did, the creativity came back and started flowing. And I feel like that's really what goes on in a lot of people's lives, with the dark times and the writer's block, or the you're just not in the right place emotionally to create. If you are a born creator, it's still inside you, and it's
Yeah.
not going anywhere, and it's going to come back. And you're either going to use every experience as a way to now filter your creativity, filter your art, whatever God has put you on this earth to create for other people. Um,
And heal. Like, I
yeah.
mean, that's a part of it too. Like, I mean, people use their art as a therapeutic tool to get through just pain and suffering and frustration. And next thing you know, that there's healing that's happening in that process too, you know?
And that's exactly what we experienced at the start of 2020, when performers and creatives all over the world got shut down. Um,
Hmm.
we had to find new ways to express our creativity and to commune with our audience, and we found that here on the network.
Yeah. Unbelievable, man. It's weird how that stuff, how Providence sort of works that way. I mean, I had probably been using Zoom for several months before for different interview or business things that I had been doing, and had literally just signed up for like a professional account. I am not advertising Zoom because I don't get any kickbacks from them. Uh, but yeah, I had literally signed up for like a business account, and the next thing you know, I was like kind of going, oh gosh, I got to start like using this like right now. And you honestly, man, you were such a role model in all of that as we went through this, because it was like, here is this dude. He is just like, the train is leaving the station and he is assembling it as it is going, man. And it was just amazing. I mean, and I think around that time that I'd also had a few, and I'd had a few like sort of one-off like video things or things like that that I had done on Instagram around that time. But the fact that you had reached out and said, let's talk about this. And boy, it just really, it just pushed a button for me, which was like, you know what? Haven't done a show for a while. As people that have been listening to the show for a while know, that I've done this a couple of times, and I had been dormant for several years doing this. And I was joking with Paul just before we went live on this. I said, really, the title of the show, tonight's show, should be Kevin blames Paul for awakening the sleeping giant. So it's like, once you kind of shook that off, it was like, right. Just discovering this again, Paul. And I just want to say this out loud, man. Thank you so much for being the person that that did that. You were the person that reached out and sort of stirred that. And all of a sudden, in this format and doing this, where I just went, oh yeah, I know how to do this. I love doing this. And I feel like I'm using the talents that I've been given for a good purpose. And boy, I will tell you, especially as we started switching over into the live stuff, you really helped me grow. Cause I remember some early live streaming. I think once I'd done stuff for Disney where it was like, we were shooting something that was going to be for Yamaha Music, and it was going to be streamed live on the internet, just being so panicked, like years earlier. And now it has just become so second nature, right? To just go, hey, I'm on live. I've got the potential for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people to see me at the same time. That's okay. And being just relaxed and in my skin. And again, that is something that you set the example for. So thanks for telling me to jump into a little bit of the deep end of the pool. Because I was definitely like, oh, you want to get into this moment of like, I got to get this right. What if something goes wrong? And you just go, yeah, stuff goes wrong. We've had this happen on this show on live stuff where I've had fire alarms go off in my house.
And that's the thing too, is like you have to be able to roll with that and not get destroyed by a little hiccup or a bump in the road. And we talked about how it's that just the slightest difference between someone who's okay getting up on stage and doing improv, knowing that perfectly well that they might look like a total fool, versus the people who are like, nope, it's not polished. I don't have the script. I'm not going to show this to people. There's both kinds of creatives. It's both
Yes.
ends of the spectrum, but it's just, where do you fit? Where do you want to stretch, and where do you feel comfortable growing? And just to rewind a little bit, this is just, I don't know if everybody's interested in just hearing Paul and Kevin love on each other, but Kevin has always been, and I've said this so many times, like from the minute I met you, you were a mentor to me. And
Thanks, buddy.
I always admired how you went and got stuff done. You had ideas, and you had projects, and you had inspiration, and you did them. Watching your podcasts, and just having conversations with you in the break room at Laughing Stock or whatever. Yeah. And just to see like you're on your breaks, you're writing scripts, you're doing spec commercials, you leave a job as like a comfortable job as a performer to go stretch yourself and take a risk that could, not only a creative risk, but a professional risk, and something that would affect your whole family. And just seeing people who have the heart and are drawn by, whether it's the art or the higher power, however you see it, and have the bravery to listen to their heart that hard that they'll just step off the ledge, just always is inspirational to me. And when I had this idea of just doing like a 5 or 6 episode mini series podcast, you're the dude I wanted to do it with, and thank you for saying yes.
Yeah.
And when you a few episodes in came into the chat or whatever and said, I'm thinking about, let's extend this. Let's make it an ongoing thing. I was like, all right, yeah, the fire's lit. I feel bad because you're doing 98% of the work. But I could see the passion, and I loved being along for the ride. And so thank you for these 60 episodes.
God, it was huge, right? Like literally, it was one of those things, like just saying, I remember being so specific with Paul. I said, we're going to do this. It's only going to be 6 episodes. We're going to see what happens. And then that's it. And to see that it really has, with the preview episode, it really, even though this is listed as episode number 59, probably wherever you're seeing it,
I
we
also
had
don't
it.
know if you counted when I did the best hits show about a year
No,
ago.
it's it. I
That's
think
smart.
that might be in there. So we're either in
Oh, okay.
60 or 61, right? We're either in 60 or 61 episodes, right? The fact that it became that is just like, it's huge. I'll have to tell you, man, I would say if there's one thing that people that are listening to this again, and it's always about the teachable moments, um, life happens in what looks like the scary places, right? Like the fullness of life happens in some of the scarier places. And I think that we're always trying to find something I want something that's going to be comfortable and safe. And I just want to be like, can I just have my stuff? Can I just have my things and my stuff and just be that? Life is so much more than that. You know, it really is. Rick Warren talks about this a lot, about like going out into those deep waters of faith, right? Like God has got these crazy things that are available for you, and they are, and looking at them, you just feel like there's no way I can get out there. There's no way I can do it. And he's literally figuring out things like, I get it. You're probably going to swallow a couple of mouthfuls of water while you're on the way out there, but we're going to learn to surf. Like, we're going to learn to surf and we're going to ride some incredible waves. And there's going to be some wipeouts that happen with this, but we can have some exhilarating, thrilling fun. And there's so much that's out there, right? And I think that it's very tempting to just stay in sort of the shallow end, right? In the baby part of it, and just be sort of right, like up to your ankles, and go, well, this is good. But we miss all of this large life, that God has for us. I think the best example that I want to give is, there's a guy whose book that I read last year. I've mentioned him, I think, here on the podcast before. His name is Dave Goggins. He's a former David Goggins. He's a former Navy SEAL, and man, this guy's had a rough life. Now, if you see him on YouTube or do this, I'm warning you right now, he is an ex Navy SEAL. He swears like a sailor, like this is bad, right? So just get used to it. That's just who he is. I'm gonna do a spoiler alert on a book that's been out for a couple of years, but he has this thing, that he has this vision, right? Where he says, like, he feels like so many people in life, right? Like he envisions it like people get to the end of their life, and then they kind of get to heaven, and they're about ready to go in, and God's there, and God says, hey, here's all these things that I had for your life, and you didn't do this one, and you didn't do this one. It's okay. I love you, right? But it's like, I also had this one, and he's like talking about, it's like all sort of like on this big, like like a big piece of paper, right? And he has to go, yeah, but you didn't do that one. So it strips away and it strips away. And so it's like this moment, like going, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had all this stuff. And Dave Goggins, man, he's sort of a brass guy. He says, I literally want to get to heaven, and I want to be there with God. And God says, David, I had all of this stuff planned for your life. And then you also did this. And then you also did this. And then you also did this, right? To start just like adding stuff on. I think that's it's such a healthy mindset, man. Like, this is it, people. Like, this is the one gift that you've been given in your life, right? Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it, please, to whatever extent that you can. I think if there's one message that we've had throughout the course of this show, and as you go back and listen to the past episodes that we've had, and it's why we've had people that have been on the show to talk about the scary stuff, because we don't want to BS you, right? We don't want to be here like saying, oh yeah, it's perfect, everything happens. We have highlighted the struggles and the valleys that happen, but we hope that we've done a pretty decent job of showing you thank God I've gotten to experience the things I've gotten to experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I am so, honestly, man, I'm so grateful for the experiences that I've had. And I really look forward to the continued experiences that I'm going to have in my life. It ain't over for me till God willing, I take my last breath on this planet, my first breath in the kingdom. You know what I mean? Like that's what it is. And this idea of, I don't want to sound like a Pollyanna or whatever, because there has to be realism and functionality that goes with this. But you know, he is calling you to something great. And the fact is, you just got to keep striving. You got to keep striving. You got to keep thriving. It's going to hurt. There's a guy that I was listening to the other day. His name's Brian Johnson. He has a thing that's on this website called Optimize Me. All right. No, but I don't particularly think like a spiritual religious guy. He's just sort of like a productivity guy. But he was talking about, like, we go through three different stages as we're trying to tackle something that's like new, or something that's changing, or something that's transformative for us. He says you first go through the impossible phase. You go through the phase where you're starting to do it and you just go, it's impossible. There's no way that this is going to happen. I keep showing up and it just looks like it's impossible. And he says, after you keep showing up and going through this impossible stage for a while, it starts going into the uncomfortable stage where you start going, it's possible. This hurts like a mother, but I'm still kind of keeping doing it. It's not impossible anymore. It's just uncomfortable. And then he says the last phase is the unstoppable part. And the unstoppable part is when that change happens and you just go, oh, there's no way I'm not doing this.
Hmm.
There's no way I'm not doing this. I got to keep showing up and keep doing this. I have had, brother, I have had a career filled with that. I have had a career filled with that anybody that thinks that they've got a normal head on their shoulders would look and say, give up. What are you talking? Why? Why are you doing this? You know, you got so many challenges. You've gotten hit by so many things. You haven't hit the things that you wanted to hit financially or all this other stuff. Choose something else. Go a different route. And I'll tell you, man, there's something else that's inside of me that just goes, no. Right?
Can't do it.
Sorry. No.
Um, yeah, and to go, I mean, your Goggins fella put the thing that I say all the time, just upgraded it, and now I have to change my version of it. But whenever people are always just like, Paul, you do so much stuff, you're such a great, like, you want to do something and then you do it, like, what's your secret? And I just always say, like, I don't want to be on my proverbial deathbed or at my end of days and think of all the things that I wanted to do in my heart that I just didn't do, because I didn't think I could, or because I didn't think I had the time, or because I didn't even ask somebody for permission to do it.
Oh,
Um,
huge.
and so now I have to adjust that to it. I don't want to be at the gates of heaven after I'm already dead, looking at God showing me all the things that I could have done. No, but that's always my biggest thing, is just like, I don't want to have something in my heart. What? Because, like, obviously our hearts are the truest like say heart scientifically, whatever you consider to be your heart,
Was
whatever
almost the title for this show, by the way, everybody. Was almost Heart's Fire, which you
is
use for
fire.
other
Yeah.
special, which was also special stuff that you use for special thing. Heart's Fire. Heart's Fire was almost the title for this show.
Whatever's burning in your heart's fire is there because it's just so close to your core, so close to what your true self is and what you want out of life. And to have something in there that you never even try to see come to fruition, it's just sad to me. Like, I don't think, there's anything should step in our way. Like, all the cliches, life is too short, like, you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that. But, like, if you have a desire in your heart's fire, it's because something inside of you wants to do it. So
Yes.
do it. And if you, like, even if it's like, uh, it doesn't have to be like write a novel, win an Oscar. It can just be, I want to surf, I want to learn to ride a horse, I want to write 10 poems this year. Just do it. Just do it. Carve out your time, like we talked about way earlier in this
Yeah.
this podcast. Carve out your me time, your creating time, and just do it.
I remember, you remember the book series? It was Chicken Soup for the Soul, right?
Yeah.
So it's like those things, and they had like just a series of those things. I remember reading one of those small stories. There was a guy once, he was 11 years old and he was in school. Oh my gosh, man, I'm totally remembering the story. He was 11 years old in school. There was a Catholic nun that was running the classroom, and it was a rainy day, so all the kids were stuck inside and they were kind of going bonkers. And the nun said, uh, write down uh, write down the things that you want to do in your life. Write down the things that you want to accomplish or to do in your life, as sort of a thing. And he said, all the other students started writing down stuff. And over time, he kind of kept referring to that list, and it ended up becoming like there were like 100 things on that list that he wanted to accomplish. And some of those things were like scuba diving and horse riding and skydiving, any of these other things, climb Mount Machu Picchu, all this stuff. And anyway, he, like, over the course of his life, man, he's like, I think at the time that he was writing this, he was probably in his 70s, and he had completed like 75% of the things that were on this list. And there were some like really incredible things. So he was continuing to strive for it. And the amazing thing was that at one point, years earlier, the nun had died, and several of the classmates had got together to pay tribute to her at the funeral. He had brought along his list, and several of the other adult students also still had their lists from years later, right? That it had that impact. And I do think that there's something to be said about taking the time. Bonnie Utley, who was on here a while back, and we got to give shout outs to the people that are joining us tonight. We've got Holly's joining us. Dana Middleton's on the live stream right now. Can you believe that? Dana, who's been a guest. Your mom is on here. Hi, Sandra. Glad to have you here. Look at that. I love how they're calling you the Vodfather. And thank you for everything that you do for the family. Kelsey, so glad you're here too. But Bonnie Utley referred to it as it's the dreaming and scheming. We need to take this time, man, to dream and scheme. And because that's where like the imaginative play starts to come in. Like, what would I really do? What would I really do if I didn't have the supposed limits or boundaries or whatever that I have? What would I do? And then, to your point, Paul, it's about going in and going, how do I start getting through this? How do I start hammering through this and make this happen? But I do think that dreaming and scheming stuff is so possible. And again, themes, ladies and gentlemen, that we've talked about before on this show. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What's your consistency? What are the things that you're doing to show up time and time again? Because it's important. It's so important, you know?
Support system is huge, and like Lucy couldn't have put it better in the last episode when she's just like, it was the people around me that pulled me out and brought me up and lifted me back out of it. And I kind of said earlier, but it doesn't have to be this huge monumental goal. It can be whatever your heart wants to do, whether it's spending more time with your family, having a better relationship with your parents, just things that you're telling yourself inside. If you just listen to and build on them, that's why we're here. That's what we're here to do. And on the total flip side, like, don't you and I learned a lot about this from you, Kevin, years ago, about prioritizing. Like, think
Yeah.
there are a number of things that we do because we think we need to, or we think like it's part of our life. It's always been there and we need to do. Like, really sit back and look at things and go, I don't need to be focusing on that because it's just something that I've done. My heart doesn't want to do it anymore. I'm done. And
Yeah.
somebody, I forget who wrote it, but oh no, it was a Seth Godin thing.
Yeah.
He
Love
was
him, man.
saying, like, how many kids played baseball when they were little? How many girls were in ballet class? How many like kids were involved in this? At some point you stopped because didn't want to do it anymore. And that shouldn't feel like a failure at all. Like you played little league until you're
Yeah.
tired of playing baseball and you stopped.
Yes.
Find those things in your life that you can just be like, I'm putting way too much effort into that and I don't want to anymore. And don't feel bad about it when you
Yeah.
stop.
No, man, that power of no is so huge. Quick shout out to Pete Atkins because he's also here with Dana as well. Good to have you here, Pete. God bless you. Um, yeah, that power of no, because there's so many things that want to get your attention. And also, can I tell you this, man? It's really, I think that I've talked about it before, right? If you have not looked it up, and I know that I mentioned it on the podcast, Greg McKeown's Essentialism. Greg McKeown, it's like McKeWon, Essentialism. It's like learning to say yes to the very best and no to the rest, honestly. And it's a hard thing, right? I battle with it myself. I battle with it with program and service. I want to, I'm a people pleaser, right? I want everybody to like me. Yeah, 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 right? That's my default. That's my California default. Yeah, yeah, sure, that sounds great. Yeah, yeah, that sounds great, right? Those were
Why is that California default?
I think, well, because I'm Southern California born and raised, and I think that that's something that we do here in this region. If you're from another part of the country, maybe Pete knows this. He might not. He's been here too long in the States. But well, maybe Dana knows this too. Dana's from Georgia, but the idea of like going, yeah, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. I feel like it's such a California thing. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. We're also very positive, right? It's also got a little bit of that head that, yeah, yeah, it's cool. Yeah, great. Right. It's a Saturday Night Live
What are
guys, right?
you doing here? Take Mulholland to the 101 and get out of here.
Such a funny sketch, dude. So good. Those guys are so funny.
I don't know. Are you just saying that people who don't live here are mean?
But
Maybe Pete knows. Maybe Dana knows. Are you guys mean?
no way. They're kind people. No way. They are the best people. Now I've been hanging out with too many. What is that? Would that be kind of like mid Minnesota if I were to do something like that? But I've also been hanging out with a lot of Canadians too lately, eh?
It's true.
Yeah. So it's a
And
little bit of that lilt.
you can boot a lot of creative stuff.
A boot. Sorry about that. All right. Let's get a lager on and talk about it later. Right. Okay. Let's ask you this. Let me ask you this. I'm putting you on the spot because we didn't prepare for this show at all. We just wanted to be live, shooting from the hip. What were memorable moments for you from guests that we've had over the show? Guests that we've had on the show, things that just pop out to just go, holy smokes, man.
Gosh, I don't know if I could narrow it down like that right off the shooting from the hip here. But I just got to say, like, I was blown away by the little the lessons that I learned wasn't expecting to with each guest. Like, I feel like in every episode, whether it was the painting master or the seasoned television veterans, like you learned lessons that you don't think that people in that field would struggle with or did struggle with, but you see that they did, and it just brought it all down and made it so much more relatable. And just being able to explore the different aspects of creativity and in all of the guests the wide spectrum that we had.
Yeah.
What people did professionally, it was just super interesting and just stuff you never think about, and I wouldn't have thought about if we didn't have this podcast and you didn't have so many diverse friends.
It's crazy, right? It was like a cacophony of just like, hey, I happen to have this person. Hey, I happen to have this person that happened to come on, man.
We had like a professional death metal drummer.
Right.
We had a guy who makes virtual landscapes for for actors to perform in.
I
We
know,
we
right?
had like it was just like this crazy children's author, a therapist. It
We
was
had a
like
professional rigger, right? We had a professional fly person that was like, holy smokes, man, unbelievable. I really love those surprise stories, like those personal surprise stories that you would get from people. Oddly enough, speaking about the master painter, Jeff Watts. So I'll tell you an interesting story. So Eric Close, the actor that was on the show a while back, he was the one that introduced us to Jeff Watts. A little bit of a sad story, but Eric's younger brother, Christopher Close, just passed away. He's around my age. He'd been battling cancer for a while, about 10 years. But honestly, man, a dude that was full of life, just a wonderful believer in Christ. I had the fortune of meeting him a number of times online in a men's Bible study that we had, and also a number of the guys that have been on the show here actually got to they became friends with him through Eric and actually got to meet him and spend time with him. Anyway, we celebrated Chris. They had two celebrations of life for Christopher Close, one back east in Nashville, and then they just had one last weekend down in San Diego. I happened to go down. I happened to see Eric. It'd been a while. I went down with David Burke, who was also on the show, and Corey Pollard was down there as well, who we've had on the show.
yeah.
And Vinny Dyke was with us as well. So Vinny Dyke, who was also on the show, right? But then also I looked up in the pictures as they were showing like the memories of Christopher stuff, and I saw Jeff Watts' picture in there because I knew that they were all friends. And sure enough, man, I looked around. I thought he's got to be here because I've never met Jeff Watts in person. And
Mm.
at the reception, I like walked up to him and went, "Hey, man, so good to meet you, man. What a powerful conversation." He was like looking at me saying, I saw this guy walking up to me and I thought, this guy looks so familiar. Who is he? And it was so interesting to have like that one-on-one conversation and connection with somebody who was just like such a powerful guest. But anyway,
Mhm.
my condolences and prayers continually for the Close family. They were a wonderful celebration of life. But my point with all of that is these wonderful stories that we would get from the actors or artists that just came, and I love it. It's such a rich tapestry of so many different things coming together, right? Some people that have just had like it feels like lightning strike, and for other people you just go, oh, I just so admire your tenacity and just that stick to itiveness, man. It's such a huge thing for me.
Absolutely.
What did Dana said? Yes, Kevin thinks we're mean. uh
Kevin, let me turn it around on you. What moments stick out in your head about this?
Honestly, again, it's those little stories that we've had. I'm going to tell you a couple that just like really pop in my mind, man. uh these are crying episodes. uh but I will tell you, we had Scotty Damien on at the beginning of the show. Unfortunately, do you know, Paul, that we only got the audio for that? We never captured video for that.
Mm.
I'll have a little announcement for this as we get towards the end of the show. Um, but you know, Scotty Damien, who was on, who talked about his autobiography Voice, and I was recounting this story that he'd had when he was younger, and just such a powerful moment. Like any of those moments have kind of moved me to tears. Um, when we had James Arnold Taylor that was on, and he ended up telling us this story about very, very personal story about discovering that, who he thought was his birth father was not his birth father, and then adopting his daughter, and then the timing of when he adopted the daughter and getting together, like such powerful stories like that. And Lucy's one of those moments. Lucy sharing that story that she did, or we had Jackie Bree a couple episodes back, like these surprising moments. For me, it's always been, I've been so grateful for the people that have come on this show and have just trusted us in this moment. And I just want to say this, it's not only trusting us in the moment, exposing these very I, I know that vulnerability is such an overused word these days, so it's the only one that I can think of. Just that they're able in a public forum to be able to get up and to talk in a public forum about stuff that is so deep and personal, and these moments that could be so embarrassing, frustrating, or heartbreaking. Um, and that they gave us the honor of sharing those moments with them. For me, any of those moments that we've had with our guests over the last 2 years have been such a man, what a huge gift and what a huge blessing. And for me, those are the moments where I walk off and just go, wow, your buddy, your buddy Justin, right? Was it Justin Armand? Was
I
that
was
it?
just gonna say, remember we caught him like on the day where he had this like breakdown
Well, his
lunch.
mom had passed away, right? His mom
Yeah,
had passed away and he'd had this moment. Oh my gosh, you know?
insane.
Just these people that came on and just had any of those moments that we had where somebody could just be real, man. Just have that moment of just going, I'm putting it all out there because I know if I put it out here, I know that it's going to help somebody. And
Mhm.
that for me has just made it such like, for me, I'm just so super grateful to be in this. Dana Middleton said this. God bless. Look at this, man. I want to read a couple of comments here. Charity said this. I love the question you asked every week about what people's favorite parts of their week were. It always led to deep conversations. Thank you, Charity. Huge. Got to find out about what's going on. Actually, Paul and I, Paul and I made the decision a while back, right? Where it was a great call, but it was like we just need to ask the guests what's going on
The
because
first 20 minutes of the episode is Paul talking about his week. Nobody cares.
we do care because they've been around for a while. Uh, yeah, love people sharing such deep soul moments. And Dana said this, God bless you, sister. In all seriousness, you guys created such a safe and welcoming platform to be vulnerable and open. It's much, much appreciated. Dana, just can't thank you enough for being a guest on the show. Her and Pete have always been my go-tos whenever I do these shows. They're such sweethearts, man. Such dear friends. Um, so let's talk about this, Paul. Let's do this. Um, what's I'm gonna tease this at the very end because you know what I realized with this show too? I realized with your creative journey, we're probably gonna be like Arrested Development. That's what I think.
Oh, yeah.
Arrested Development was like one of those shows. Like I remember the first time I actually watched Arrested Development. It was the last night that it was airing on Fox Television, and they were airing like they had crammed 4 episodes back to back to back. It was like the last 4 episodes. I said, "Hey, this is pretty good." It's like, and the show's canceled, right? But then, like, it had such a huge following on all this stuff. I truly do believe this with this show because I know this for a fact, and the people that are listening know right now we've had some incredible, awesome conversations with people. We really have.
Mhm.
The only flaw that's happened during our stuff, and we've had a couple of episodes that have been awesome, that have done really good. Just people haven't found it yet. And I've got a funny feeling that people are going to find this and it's like going to blow up and people are going to say, when's the next one? What's happening? So I think it's going to be like Arrested Development, where this will be one of those shows where all of a sudden it'll like take off so huge in reruns and stuff that people will just go, "You guys have got to get together for a special reunion thing," right?
And you
Um,
never know, like things might happen in our lives professionally or creatively that bring us right back to the table.
oh
And
yeah,
we'll just pick up the phone and be like, Kevin, let's do another 5 episodes this summer or something and
I love it.
really explore this or that. And, we'll
Well, I'll tell you what it will be. I'll put this out, and if you got a comment on this, let me know. You know what it'll be, Paul? I've got a funny feeling it'll be one of these. Hey, guess what? How would you like to do a live tour? How would you like to do a live tour? We'll hit 5 different theaters. We'll have special guests on each of those nights, and we'll do it in front of live audiences, and we'll make it into special podcast things. So I think it might be something like that, right?
sounds good to me.
right? Like people are already saying, I love that idea, right?
Yeah.
Um, Paul, let's do this. Let's recap for a second because I've got tons of commercials to throw on these people. So before I do that, let me ask you this. What's going on? First of all, I'm so grateful that you're here for this episode because poor Paul and the
Sorry.
entire Carganilla clan got hit by COVID a second time.
And I did the thing where like I was like, I'm gonna do the show. I'm gonna do the show.
Yeah.
And then time's ticking, and it's like 2 hours to the show. I can't flake on him now. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Till finally, I was just like, I can't. I just can't tonight.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kevin. And so you're so sweet on the episode last week. You're like, Paul called me. I didn't even call Kevin. I like broke up with him over text message. I was just like, Kev, I can't do the show tonight. And he was just like, cool, I get it, got it.
It's COVID
Yeah.
for the second time, buddy.
Nuts. But
Was it pretty bad? How did you guys okay, I don't mean to out anybody on this. Who brought it home? What happened? Was it the kids or was it what
Noah
happened?
had it. Noah tested positive first.
Yeah.
He came downstairs that Saturday morning, and
Was he not? He just wasn't feeling good or
he was all stuffed up, and he said, "Daddy, I don't feel good," and he had a fever. So, and we, luckily, Jamie's best friend is a elementary or a junior high school principal, and had dumped a box of self tests on our doorstep like a week before.
yeah.
We tested Noah that first Saturday, and he was positive, and then. The rest of us felt fine, but we still tested. We were all negative.
Okay.
A couple days went by, and then we all just started feeling sick, but we're testing negative. And then, yeah, I think that Tuesday night was the worst night when we were all just sick, and 8 o'clock is bedtime for the kids. And I was just like,
It's too
I
much.
can't
It's too
make
much.
Jamie do bedtime with the two sick kids while she's sick, and I'm trying to get through a podcast. So,
Nope.
but yeah, I mean, it wasn't.
Family always first in any situation. I want to say that to anybody in the arts. Family first, always.
I knew you would understand, but I felt bad about the way it all went down. Um,
Oh,
and
so yeah, so you guys got through this. You got out the other side. Thank God. It's unbelievable. Second time through. Terrible, terrible. Now, here's the thing. I just want you to announce some great. So Everly's had some great stuff. She's got another show that's streaming right now on Apple Plus, right?
yeah, it's called The After Party. It's Chris Miller, something Lord. Oh, I'm so bad. Phil Lord.
It's Lord and Miller. So those are the
Yeah,
last Chris Miller and Philip Lord. Phil Lord.
yeah, and they're the duo who did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the Lego movies, the
Yeah.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball movies, the
20
um,
they did I think they did
21
like
and 22 Jump Street.
22 Jump Street. And I'll tell you what, I'm just going to say this because you can't say this, but they were the guys that were originally hired and were actually filming the original Solo movie. And I got a funny feeling I would have loved to have seen their version of it. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. So they created this murder mystery that takes place at a high school reunion. It's the one thing I just like drives me crazy about the show is it's a 15-year high school reunion. Who has a 15-year high school reunion? They just wanted to do this story with these actors that were in this age range, I think.
Right.
But one of the characters dies at the after party, and then it's a whodunit. But the detective gets everybody's statements one by one, and she says at the start, "Tell me your mind's movie of what happened." And each character there has a different genre movie in their head.
Oh,
So
great.
each episode is a different genre. The first was a romantic comedy. The second was a action flick.
Wow.
The third was a musical, like
Oh,
High School
wow.
Musical. It's so
Yeah.
funny. And
That's good.
Everly's at the party. She's gonna get her chance to tell her side of the story. But yeah, Apple Plus, The After Party.
Amazing. So Everly's got that rocking and rolling. I'm sure that there's some other things coming down the pike that you can't talk about.
She's also reading a book by Dana Middleton called Not a Unicorn, and she's loving it.
Oh, right on. Look at
Yeah.
that, man. Fantastic.
Dana thought it might be a little too old for her, but she's loving it.
Well, Everly's got a great head on her shoulders. That's for sure. What's going on with you? You're still doing you've got all the stuff that's over on the Vaudacity Network. Is the Cove with you? Is that a regular thing or what's going on with you? Is it a weekly thing?
Yeah, I do it every once in a while. I try to do it every week, but I don't have a consistent day that I do it. And the Polly's Online Variety shows we're doing every other week as of right now. So just continue to come over to Vaudacity. We got
Yeah.
something pretty much every night on the channel still, and it's a loving creative family over there.
I love
Family
it.
over there.
A family, your family. I'll put you on the spot with this. Have you had any other stirring thoughts of creative stuff for yourself that you're pondering? Or am I going to get you in trouble with Jamie to go, what? You said what? We're doing what now?
Right now, I'm just finishing up. Well, I'm getting started actually with the final phase of The Haunted Man, which is mailing out everybody's DVDs, and I really feel like I can't dive into anything else until I
Okay.
get that done. But
Still telling you, honestly, I'm just saying this on here. I don't know that legitimately, I truly feel that that piece can be sold somewhere. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I feel like there's honestly a buyer that's out there that could easily be on a streaming service like tomorrow, you
thank
know?
you. Yeah, and that's what the holdup has been really. I've been talking to a lot of different people about what we should do with it. People that I've met through Everly in the industry. So, and my biggest fear was that I would send out the Kickstarter DVDs and then we would find out the company doesn't want to buy it because people have it on DVD already. But I think we're at a point now where we can safely do that. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to get those out. Really, honestly, right now, I think it's probably just going to be more writing.
good.
I really enjoyed the holiday challenge where I had to write a screenplay in 8 days, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm ready to start writing more screenplays and
That's
figure
awesome,
out
man.
that world.
Very, very cool. Dig it, man. Dig it.
Kevin Gregg, what are you doing after your creative journey, volume one,
Right, right. That's
conclude?
right. Well, I just want to say there's a couple of things that I want to say to people that are here right now, or if you're listening. Number
I
one,
didn't get to do that. I didn't get to do that.
well, do you want to say, do
I'll
you want
go
to
after
back
you.
up and say it?
I'll go after you.
All right, all right. There's a couple of things I want to say to people that are listening and watching this right now. Number one, if you're watching this on YouTube, uh, the content is actually still coming on your creative journey, oddly enough. What people don't realize, and if you're listening to this on the audio podcast, head over to yourcreativejourneypodcast.com so that you get pointed back towards where the YouTube channel is. There is so much more content that you have not seen from your creative journey that's actually coming. What you're going to see on this channel, if you haven't already done so and liked and subscribe on this channel, you're actually going to start seeing clips of past segments that we've had, because I understand when you're watching this on YouTube, it can feel like, oh my gosh, that's a huge hour and 15 hour 30-minute show. I can't believe it. I've actually been working with a number of people to start putting out segments from past shows so that you can get a taste of what those segments were. So you'll start seeing those happening over the next few weeks. Also, we started doing the live stream and the YouTube version of this halfway through the run. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a number of these shows that we actually have on video that you have not seen the videos for these at all. So there's a number of shows that we've got that they're out in audio format, but you probably haven't seen the video version of it. And if you're just watching this on YouTube, guess what? You'll get to see those as well. So there's still plenty more your creative journey stuff coming. Listen, I don't worry about your hair. You look fine. Okay. You look fine, Paul. All right. I know you
Good.
keep kind of like, it's all right. You're good. Um, with that said, and that's why I definitely want to make sure that people like and subscribe, because this is the thing that I was talking to. what, what are you doing? He's my gosh, you've suddenly gotten more fluffy. Um, I'm going to tell you this as well. Uh, I'm going to talk about a couple of other projects that are coming. Number one, over the last year or so, I've actually been working on an autobiography with a friend of mine, whose name is Doug Riggle. If you look him up online, we're actually getting ready to, we're just in the last stages with his manuscript. The title of the book is called I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. And this is a story about his life. He actually found out when he was 10 years old that he was adopted by his parents. And then it talks about the journey that he went through, uh, not only becoming a Christian, but also he ended up adopting a son who in his 20s ended up committing suicide. And he talks about this. He's actually had a TED talk about it. And it's a powerful story about learning to navigate through pain, and also what that meant with having faith along the way. And I am so happy to be a part of this project with him. We're in the end stages of the manuscript and going to start shopping that around. My hope is that within the next year, you'll start hearing more news about that as we start gearing that up. So that book is called I'd Rather Be a Buffalo. Um, I'll tell you where that title comes from. In some Indian Native American cultures, they talk about when storms come in, when big thunderstorms come in, usually cattle will run away from thunderstorms to try to get away from it. Buffaloes will turn right around and they will charge through the thunderstorm to get through it on the other side. So that's what the title of the book is. I'd rather be a buffalo. Um, and then finally, the other thing that I want to talk about on the show, which I talked about with Paul. Boy, talk about stepping off a cliff. Here we go, Paul. There has been a shift that's been happening for me, especially over the last couple of years, as you guys have seen, and you hear me talk about it with my faith here on the show. But I am actually coming back in a couple of months with a show that is going to be dealing specifically with uh, creatives and the business world, but it's going to be coming specifically from a Christian foundation. The name of the show is going to be called The Working Creative Christian, and it deals specifically like what are those things that you need to do as you are building and continuing with your craft and producing, but also the fundamentals of business that are necessary in order for you to not just to get by or to do it as fun, but to actually do it for a living and thriving, but all of that built on a foundation of Christianity, and to make sure that that is infused with your work. I've been feeling that a lot, especially in the work that I've had. We all know, we've all seen it in the past, really bad Christian films, right? There's some really bad ones that are out there. And
Name
it's
them. Name a few.
no thanks. I'm good. Um, but I truly do feel that, like I've talked about before on the show, I think that I believe that our gifts are given to us from God, and I think that He's given this to us for a reason. And for me personally, I think part of it is about proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news that exists in Scripture, and to also be able to use my art that way, to help out other people, to help with the world. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That's probably going to be launching in May of this year. We're getting together some structure of this. It's basically going to be like a school. That's sort of what it is, especially the guests I'm going to be bringing on. It would be almost as if I was creating a school in which, hey, guess what? Not only are you sharpening your creative skills, and you are also sharpening your business economic skills, but you're also deepening in the understanding of your Christian faith and apologetics as well. And so the idea with it is, just about every episode, even when I bring guests on, it's almost like having guest teachers that are on the show that are going to be sort of instructing and getting that stuff out there. So it's called The Working Creative Christian. It should be coming in May. And I just want to let you guys know about that. So what people also don't know, I'm sorry, Paul, I told you there's going to be a big commercial, because we're not done with content by a long stretch. What some of you may or may not know, in order to help with this creative content that's coming on, there's actually been other content that I've been putting out on another platform, which a lot of it is free, and it's over at Kevin Gregg, kevingregg.locals.com. kevingregg.locals.com. It's a whole other platform, which a whole bunch of people would just go, oh gosh, another platform. But here's the deal. If you're heading over to kevingregg.locals.com, I've actually have a number of free videos that are over there right now where I have been sharing thoughts about faith and also about creativity. I also have, I think I should try to pull it up while I'm here on the screen if I can, if you're not seeing it now. Also, I've been doing thoughts of the day. I also have a video series that is over there. Here, I'm going to show this so you guys can see it on the YouTubes. I have a video series that is online right now over at Locals, which is a Terry. You guys can't really see it, can you? Hold on. Let me move this over. Can you see that, Paul? Can you guys
Yeah.
see that? It's called Parameters for Working on a Project. It's part of a series. That's the first of several parts, but this is a specific this is sort of a set of guidelines that I use for myself when there's a new project that I'm working on. And the first video is over there. Here's the pitch on it. I have a number of these videos that are out there for free that are on there. Also, if you want to help support further content, you can also become a subscriber for as little as like $2 a month. You can help with supporting the show, and that stuff helps with the building of the other stuff that we're doing. You do not have to buy or subscribe for anything, but it also unlocks other content that I have over there. But over at kevingregg.locals.com, I've got a ton of free content that's going out every day. So also what I'm going to be doing as I'm getting ready for the new show, the Working Creative Christian, you're going to get to hear and see a little bit of behind the scenes work as I'm putting this thing together, because I want to be transparent about that. The idea with this is really turning this into it's going to be basically turning it into another business. And I want people to be able to follow along with that. So those are some thoughts, Paul. There you go. What do you think about that?
I think that you are creating, and that is wonderful. We've been saying since the very first episode, if these episodes can inspire one person to create that thing that they've been inspired to do but haven't yet, then it was all worth it, and we did our job.
Amen.
And you were like, I can't tell. Is it working? Okay, I'll be that person. I'll create this
Yeah.
and this and this and this. No, I'm just kidding. I joke, but I'm glad that to see you unleashing your creative potential.
Thanks, buddy. I
Yeah.
appreciate it, man. It has been an absolute blast. I can't thank our listeners and our viewers enough for this. Uh, like we said, yes, it's done for now. It's done for now, but I think that there's more to come for sure. There's definitely plenty of other stuff that's coming here on this channel on YouTube. There's plenty of stuff that Paul is going to continue putting on Vaudacity, and I don't think that you've seen the end of us two goons working together. You know what I mean? So I know that the timing of that is going to be right when we end up doing when we do some special ones to get together. Whoo, look out, man. That is going to be a one. That's going to be like, it's going to be like that will be a crazy episode for sure. That
Yes.
will definitely be like, oh yeah. And now Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington.
So last week, Everly introduced me to Jack Nicholson. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
Crazy stuff, man. Well, I'll tell you what, man. God bless each and every one of you. Paul, any closing thoughts before we jump off here, brother?
I was gonna ask you. We
Mm,
always ask the guests, if you could say anything to yourself when you were
yeah,
younger or an aspiring
right.
whatever, if you could say anything to the guests one last time before we're back,
Yeah,
um, I would say support each other, just like you have uh, always throughout this journey of our podcast. Can't thank you enough for always being here, always listening to the show, the likes, the subscribes, the comments in the chat, just being here for Kevin and I as we go through this creative journey together. And I hope that you not only do it here, but carry it through all aspects of your life whenever you see anyone who is taking a risk or trying something brave, that you support them and you be that voice that they need to hear cheering them on, as you have been for us. I see my mom's in the chat, and she was always that for me growing up, and never put any obstacles in my way, only just poured gas in the tank for any crazy creative idea I had. Thank you, Mom, if you're still watching. I love you. And be that for not only your friends, but people you don't even know when you see them doing stuff, brave stuff. Be the champion.
What a lovely example your mom has been, right?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
that's, I mean, like, honestly, that has been an example of what you do for others, right? I think Paul, honestly, man, some stuff that's happened for me over the years is, I think part of the reason why I want to help is there were definitely a lot of times where I didn't have that voice. I didn't have that voice or that support at certain times. And sometimes it felt like there was adversity from even professionally. There were a few key people that helped me along the way, but there was one of those things where I went, nah, I want to be able to do this better for somebody else, and then just keep moving down, you know? Uh, and Paul, I think you also touched on something really important. What's something that I would tell myself if I was, 30 years ago, and something I want to just echo to our listeners tonight. Um, don't wait for permission. Don't wait for permission. Go and do it, because nobody's going to come along and just kind of go, okay, now you're clear and free to go. No, just follow it, man. Just follow it and start getting it done. So, uh, buddy, that's all I've got. If you happen to be seeing this, please like, subscribe. If you happen to be listening to this, please give us a positive review, because even if you're listening to past episodes, that's okay. It'll still help people find the show in the future and point them towards other projects that we're currently working on. I want to say thanks to the social media team for helping us. Dari, Christina, all you guys have been amazing. And a big shout out to Steve Erdman for helping us on the audio technical wise, man. You've been fantastic.
Everyone who's been in the audience, we love you. Thank you.
You guys are amazing. God bless each and every one of you. I want to make sure that maybe I read some of your comments here before. Hey, Kelsey, don't worry. She's sad to see it end, but exciting for all the new projects. They're coming back for sure. Diana, don't you worry. Holly saying, woohoo, can't wait. Thank you, Dana. Thank you so much. Charity, so blessed by this wonderful experience of the show. Thank you all for your hard work and finding amazing guests. So inspiring. Hey, if nobody has told you today, says Holly, you are loved. Love you guys so much. Tell you what, we're going to jump off here. Paul and I are going to say our gooey goodbyes on our own. But God bless each and every one of you.
I'll do
Thanks
it
for being
first.
with
I
us.
love you, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
all
you.
your hard work. Everything. Give it up for Kevin Gregg. Yeah.
And also give it up for Paul Carganilla. Hit the same button. Hit it. That's the worst. You are the worst. You are the worst. I love you, buddy.
I love you.
All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. We will see you soon. Show up on this. Boy, I just kind of I belly flopped right at the end. It would have been just like a perfect, well, that's what you do. As a creative, you just kind of you can't let it go, can you?
Back on that horse.
This way. Guys, we'll see you again here on this YouTube channel with more content coming your way. God bless you guys.
Play that awesome music by the Swells.
Bye. And